you'll see a little indicator on your screen that says that we are recording. Here it is. So now we're starting. So as I mentioned, we have some of our staff members that are sitting in with us today. Melanie from our administrative team is here, and also Julius Ancho, who's our literary specialist, is also here. So welcome. At this time, I'm going to introduce Raymond, and then Raymond will introduce his team members that are here today, and then we'll go into the presentation that Rosie has prepared for us today. So I want to welcome Raymond back. Hi, Raymond.
Hi, thanks, Wanda, and thank you for, of course, San Diego Braille Institute for having us again. Once again, my name is Raymond. I'm an advocate with Disability Rights California. With me here today from our team, we have Candace Bowles and Paul Spencer. I will let them introduce themselves shortly, but just quick overview if you're not familiar with Disability Rights California. We are a statewide nonprofit, and we provide free legal services to people with disabilities with disability-related issues. Some of the topics we cover on special education, higher education, accommodation issues for employment or disability discrimination. We also help with public health benefits such as in-home supportive services and Medi-Cal. And of course, what the presentation is about today is on voting. We have one of our attorneys, Paul Spencer, who's on our voting rights, what we call them practice group, to ensure voting system in California is accessible to people with disabilities. I'm going to pass it along to Candace, who will talk about our public comment survey. Carry it away, Candace.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I won't take up too much time. Disability Rights California is funded primarily through federal grants that are part of the Protection and Advocacy grant system. And we receive a grant that we call PAVA, which is for access to voting. And so as part of our planning every year, when we're planning our goals for all of the areas that Raymond mentioned, education, reasonable accommodation, employment, we also have a goal that focuses on voting. And so we are here to ask that you all go to our website, Disability Rights California, and check out our survey. This survey will be used to inform our advocacy for the next few years. Our goals will be for a 3-year period, but our objectives will be annual. And so we are meeting with groups like this and doing a lot of outreach to get more engagement with our survey. Typically in the past, last year, we didn't get a lot of responses, and the vast majority of the responses were from white, middle-aged women. And so we're going to different groups, different diverse groups, because we want to get a fuller picture of what people are experiencing. And a more representative of the disability community. So we have a section in our survey on voting rights, and it asks questions like, which of the following voting rights issues have you or someone you know faced? The polling place or vote center was not accessible. The equipment did not work properly. The poll workers were rude or not helpful. So they're very just experiential, just trying to understand better barriers to voting, so that when Paul and the rest of our voting team are doing their work, we have real feedback from what people have experienced. There are also other topics there. And if voting is one of many issues, there's education, employment, healthcare, housing, mental health services, regional center services. So all of those different topics are there. And if you don't mind taking the survey, forwarding it to people that you know. They're very short. It's only like 4 questions. And there's an opportunity to expand and explain things if you want to take more time with the survey. We really appreciate the feedback. We take this information, we go into our planning meetings in July, and we feel like we have a real understanding of what people are experiencing and where we should focus our advocacy.
Thank you, Candace.
I can put a link in the chat, but I don't want to if that's not going to be helpful. So you just tell me what's best.
You can go ahead and put it in the chat. I just had a quick question about how long that survey will be active, if it's going to go offline or if it has a deadline.
That survey will be there until July 1st.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's nice meeting you all.
Nice meeting you as well.
Hey, Wanda.
Welcome in, Fabian.
So I'm also going to send the link to the survey to Wanda, and you can also distribute it to the rest of the group.
Sounds great. Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, without further ado, I think we should move into the why we're here today. Rosie will talk about voting and accessibility.
Thank you, Raymond. Thank you, Wanda. Okay, so hello, everyone. I'm Rosie Rascon with the San Diego County Registrar of Voters. And today I'm going to be sharing some information with you about how we will be carrying out elections in San Diego County, starting with the June 7th election. So we'll talk about I'll share information, everything you need to know for the upcoming June 7th election. And there will be time for questions. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to share, and I will make sure to describe the slides we have available here. Not too much as far as graphics, but are you able to see the PowerPoint screen? Can someone?
It's there now, yes.
Yes, we are. Yes, Rosie, we can see it just fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so as you all may have heard, we do have an election coming up on June 7th. It is the statewide direct primary election. So that is what our workshop will entail today. And we want to share with you that, sorry, 1 second here. I need to put my, okay. Are you able to see the presenter view, or do you just have the slides? I'm working on a laptop today, so I'm not sure what you can see.
I think we may be seeing the presenter's view.
The presenter's view?
Yeah,
okay.
It's showing the next slide.
It's showing the next slide. Okay.
Yeah, so we see your notes.
You see my notes. Okay, well, it's not a bad thing.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So, yeah, all my notes are shareable, so no problem there. So under the Voters' Choice Act, for the June 7th election that's coming up, every active registered voter in San Diego County will receive a ballot in the mail. So you no longer have to sign up to be a vote by mail voter or an absentee voter. This process is now automatic, and as long as you're a registered voter, you will receive a ballot in the mail. So you get to choose when, where, and how you vote moving forward, and we'll talk about some of what those options will be. Let's see here. Voters will be able to return their ballot by mail at a drop box or visit a location and drop off in person. You'll also be able to vote in person at more than 200 locations throughout the county. And to help voters learn about the changes, on February 28th, we began our outreach efforts by mailing out a postcard. and it was titled Vote More Days, More Ways. And so with this postcard, we reached out to all registered voters to let them know about the upcoming election and about some new options for voting. Another piece of mail that was sent out late April 28th, and actually some people are still receiving it as of this week, so it's still in process of going out. But this piece of mail would be the voter information pamphlet, also known as your sample ballot booklet. A lot of us know it as a sample ballot booklet. But the voter information pamphlet is really important because this is what has your candidate statements, and it's a sample of what your ballot is going to look like if you haven't received that yet. The booklet also contains information such as voting locations, drop boxes. So there's some general information included in that booklet as well. And then starting on May 9th, we began sending out the official ballot. So you may have received that already. And in this package, you would have received a white envelope titled Official Election Balloting Material. Inside the white envelope, you would have received your official ballot, voting instructions, a yellow return envelope that is postage paid, and a small square with your I voted sticker. So that is great because you don't have to go vote in person to get your sticker. Now you get it in the mail. So that's nice. And then finally, the last piece of mail that you may receive would go out on May 28th, so later this month. And this will be sent out to voters to remind them of the election, of Election Day, and the options that are available for voting in person. So this second postcard will be sent out later during the month, just about the time that our vote centers will open. And we'll be talking about the vote centers here as we move through. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, you're all going to receive a ballot in the mail, and you have options for returning this ballot. So you can vote the ballot that you receive in the mail from home, and you can return it through the U.S. Postal Service, no stamp needed. There is also a system available if you decide to use this method of voting by mail. There's a system on it's a tracking system that is actually through the state of California. There is a link on our website, and it's called Where's My Ballot? And you only need to sign up for this tracking once. But what it does is it will ask you for your contact information, whether you would like to be contacted via text, phone call, or email. And then what it will do is it will send you an alert once your ballot is going to be sent out to you, and once your ballot has been received by our office and processed. So it's a great system because it gives you that peace of mind that you know that your ballot is on its way to you, and also the peace of mind of knowing that your ballot has been received by the registrar of voters. So that's something you can sign up for on the website, the county website, which is sdvote.com. And I'll be mentioning the website throughout the presentation. A reminder, if you do vote by mail, if you decide to send that ballot in the mail, when you insert your official ballot in the yellow return envelope, you'll want to seal this, and you'll want to sign the back of the envelope. There is a red square for your signature located on the back of the envelope, and it also has a line for the date. And you'll want to sign your return envelope just the same way you sign any of your legal documents, or how it might appear on a on a California ID or a California driver's license. So you'll want to sign the same way you sign all your legal documents, because this envelope is compared, the signature on this envelope is compared with the signature that we have on file for the voter. So it's important that we're able to match it. If for some reason we're not able to match your signature, we will make sure to reach out to you by mail, and we will let you know that we were not able to match your signature and provide you the opportunity to correct that before the election is certified. So please don't worry if you can't remember how maybe you signed your voter registration, or maybe you haven't voted in a couple of years and you don't remember what that signature looked like, or what it was, how you signed in previous years. We will do our best to match it, and if not, we will notify you. Okay, so another option besides voting through the mail, sending your ballot back by mail, another option is what is called remote accessible vote by mail. And this is a system that is most commonly used by voters with disabilities, voters who are in the military, or voters whom are overseas. And what this system does is it allows a voter to request and receive access to a remote accessible vote by mail system. So it allows the voter to download a copy or to download their personal ballot onto their own computer, and they're able to mark their ballot privately and independently using your own assistive devices that you may have at home, your own assistive technology. You will receive, if you decide that this is a way that you would like to vote, it is something that you have to request and let our office know that you would like to vote using the remote accessible vote by mail system. And then at that time, we will sign you up for it, make sure you receive the link to your ballot along with instructions. And it is important to understand that this system is not voting online. The way it works is once you download your ballot, you're able to go through your ballot using your assistive technology. You're able to make your selections and vote for your candidates, measures, propositions, and then you're able to review the ballot and finally print it out and then deposit it in an envelope. It will arrive to you with instructions where you have to print a page, which somebody asked me recently what was the size of the paper that you would need, and it would just be a standard 8.5 by 11, where you would need to print your ballot, and it would also print the template. It's really a piece of paper that will get attached to an envelope. And then just like a mail envelope, you will sign the back of that envelope, make sure it's sealed, postage is paid, and then it will be returned by mail to the Registrar Voters Office. If you choose not to return it by mail, you can also drop it off at a drop box or at a vote center, but it is just like voting by mail in the sense that you're returning a paper ballot to us, and you're putting it in a return envelope. So it is not voting online or through email or on the internet in any way. So I just want to make sure that people understand that.
Rosie, looks like we have a question from Paul. Paul, did you have your hand raised? Did you have something? Go right
I have
ahead.
a couple questions. Rosie, can I ask a couple questions, or do you want me to wait
Sure.
till the end? It's about signatures and envelopes. Just real quick, so if you sign up for remote accessible vote by mail in San Diego, do you use the same envelope you got with your vote by mail ballot, or do you use a special envelope?
So you will receive, sorry about that. You will receive a, with your instructions, and what will happen when you print your ballot, it will print a template for the envelope. So what it is it's basically an 8.5 by 11 sheet that gets attached to an envelope. And from what I understand, you know, it is a bit larger than a standard size envelope. So some people have used a larger size envelope to make it easier.
Okay.
It can be cut out to accommodate a smaller envelope, but it will print out those pages. Front and back of the envelope will print out when you print out the ballot.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, this is a fairly new process that we've been trying to revise and make as accessible as possible. So I know that Raymond and team are collecting feedback, you know, for voting. So if you do use the remote accessible vote by mail system and you have any feedback that you could provide, I'm sure that this is something that will be provided to the Registrar of Voters and could assist us with helping to make accommodations on this procedure as well.
Can I add one more thing? And I'm sorry, this is Paul Spencer from Disability Rights California speaking. Just one other thing on remote accessible vote by mail is, you know, the printing and signing can be an accessibility barrier for people who are blind and low vision. So it definitely, it's a barrier, and you might need assistance with that step, which makes it a little less than completely private and independent. So, you know, if you have other questions, you know, Raymond and I are always happy to help you kind of talk through it. But, you know, if you don't have someone to assist you with that process, for example, if you're blind, you know, and you really you don't want people to see how you vote, one option might actually be to go in person and use an accessible voting system. So remote accessible vote by mail is great, but there's some limitations, and, you know, this is a frequent complaint we get from voters who are blind about needing assistance. So, okay, I'll be quiet now. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. So yes, there are other options aside from the remote accessible vote by mail system. You could definitely, if you have technology at home that can assist you in reading the ballot that you receive in the mail, you may feel that it's an easier option because it comes with the return envelope ready to go. But we're going to talk about voting in person and how that is accessible coming up. So that is another option as well. Thank you, Paul. All right, so let's talk about our ballot drop boxes, because this is a way that you can return your ballot to us. Our ballot drop box program is another secure, accessible, and convenient option for voters to return their ballot. For the June 7th election, we will have a combination of standalone secure drop boxes and staffed ballot drop boxes, but I will say the majority will be staffed. We're still in the process of securing these drop boxes and having them installed. I don't know exactly where we are in the process. So you could expect that for the June 7th election, most of our drop boxes will be staffed. under our current registration totals, we will have a minimum of 130 drop boxes located throughout the county. According to my notes, we'll have about 132 locations. All right, let's see. An important thing to remember about these drop boxes is that there are hours for the drop boxes. And let me just go to the next slide here. On our website, again at sdvote.com, you could obtain a list of the Dropbox locations. They are organized by zip code. There's a sample on this slide, and it has, for example, Alpine, the zip code 91901, and then it states Alpine Branch Library. It indicates the address and then the hours of operation for that particular drop box. You also have the ability to use a map where you can see the drop box locations on our website. So those are available on the website, but this information will also be sent to you with your election material. And you can always call our office, and I will share the phone number at the end of this presentation. But if it makes it easier, you can always call and let them know where you're located, and they will find the nearest Dropbox location to you, as well as the nearest vote center. So that is another way that you can obtain this information.
I had a quick question, Rosie. I'm curious, for the drop boxes, how early are those available in the community? Is it a standard, like a couple days before, the day of only, or do you have any sense of or know how early those boxes are available, or would we have to check that out with the information about the locations?
Thank you, and that's actually a point I missed. The drop boxes opened on May 9th, and they will be available through June, according to our list here, through Election Day. It says June 6th for, oh, I see why it says June 6th. So May 9th through June 6th, the hours listed on this page, and then on Election Day as well on June 7th. So yeah, they are open already. They opened last Monday. So thank you for that question. Okay. We do also have a 24-hour drop box, and that one is located near the Registrar of Voters on Claremont Mesa Boulevard. So if that's something that you're interested in finding out about, that information is also included in the list with your election material. And you can always call and ask if you need information on that. So thank you for that question, Wanda. All right, so now we'll move on to vote centers. So this is your option if you would like to vote in person. Our vote centers will be replacing polling places. So the traditional polling place that you were used to seeing will be replaced by this vote center, which will offer more services. On the slide here, it says a voter can vote at any vote center multiple days and hours. And it indicates that select vote centers will be open 11 days starting May 28th. And all vote centers will be open for 4 days starting June 4th. And those dates include Election Day, June 7th. So a big difference from the model that we are using now by transitioning to vote centers versus polling places is that you no longer have to go to an assigned location. You can now vote in person at any location throughout San Diego County. And you will have a list of the locations, again, included with your election material. When you receive that voter information pamphlet, If you haven't already, this information will be included. This information is also on the website, and again, you can always call. And our website is SD, as in San Diego, vote.com. They will also include the closest two locations near your home in your election material for convenience. So I mentioned that locations will be open. All locations will be open for 4 days. Some locations will be open for 11 days. And this, of course, provides voters with more flexibility to get out there and cast their ballot in person if that's how they choose to do so. The way things used to be back a couple of years ago, you had to vote. If you were going to vote in person, you had to vote on election day, right? And if you didn't make it to the poll sometime between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., then if you were someone who voted in person, then you would miss your opportunity. And that is no longer the case. Now you have in those 4 days prior, you have the weekend included, which is wonderful. A lot of us are busy, right? You have work, you have appointments, you have school possibly. So having the weekend available to you to be able to vote is wonderful, and it provides us with a lot more flexibility. And then, of course, some locations will even provide 2 weekends prior, the locations that are open 11 days. And our next slide here just states that there's a sample of a map. You can also view the voting locations not only through a list on the website, but you can also obtain that information through a map. And it will work pretty much the same way as the ballot drop-off locations. It will provide you locations by zip code. It will have the address, the hours of operation. And of course, you can always call us for this information as well. Okay, let's see here. So the number of vote centers. So let's talk about this is some good information on how we come up with the number of vote centers that we offer throughout the County of San Diego. So under our current voter registration totals, San Diego County is required to have a minimum of 195 vote centers open for 4 days, and that includes election day. We do have on this slide a calendar just representing the 4 days versus the 11 days. Of the approximately 195 vote centers, 39 vote centers would be open for a full 11 days, and that includes election day. Under the Voters' Choice Act, counties must provide 1 vote center for every 10,000 registered voters, open for the 4 days, and 1 vote center for every 50,000 registered voters, open for 11 days. So based on our voter the number of registered voters in San Diego County, that is how we come up with the number of 191. However, here in San Diego County, we will have more than that. My notes say we anticipate having more, but in fact, we will have more vote centers. We're looking at 219 locations throughout the County of San Diego. So we've surpassed our requirement that is required under the Voters' Choice Act. But this is good information for you to know, how we get to the number of locations of vote centers throughout the county. All right, so let's talk about more about what these vote centers are going to offer. So we talked about, so far, we talked about the number of locations throughout the county, that they'll be open for multiple days, and how to find that information. But now let's talk about what's available when you go to a vote center. So we're saying they're basically a one-stop shop. All of our vote centers will have a full deployment of our touchscreen ballot marking device. And this ballot marking device was demonstrated at the Braille Institute a couple of years ago, when it was still fairly new. Raymond and Paul and myself went out there, thanks to Wanda, and we did do a demonstration of this ballot marking device. But basically what it looks like, if you're not familiar with it, or if you've not voted in person in recent years, is it looks like a large iPad, and it's connected to a printer. So when you show up to vote in person at a vote center, they will have the capability to bring up your ballot no matter what vote center you go to in the county. So we talked about that you no longer have to go to an assigned location, and that is because this ballot marking device has this capability. It has the capability to pull up your ballot no matter where you go. Okay, so when you show up at a vote center, you check in. They will ask you to state your name. They'll ask you a couple questions. Once they have you checked in, they will direct you to a ballot booth. And if you would like to vote using the ballot marking device, the way that works is it will be located on top of a table in a booth. It's a blue booth, and it will have this large tablet, which is the ballot marking device, sitting mostly on the left-hand side with a printer to the right of it. There is a slot under the tablet where there is a card that is inserted by the poll worker. The poll worker pulls up your ballot, and then once your ballot is up, the poll worker removes the card and leaves, unless you need assistance from them. But otherwise, you are left to go ahead and vote. There is accessibility with this ballot marking device because one, it allows you to obtain your ballot in different languages if you would like a different language aside from English. Languages that will be available will be Spanish, Filipino, Vietnamese, and Chinese. Another accessible feature that it provides is an audio ballot. So if you would like to vote using an audio ballot and listening to the ballot and making your selections, then you'll be connected to you'll be provided with headphones connected to this ballot marking device. You'll be provided with a handheld controller that has Braille for those of you who do read Braille, and if not, that's okay. It has some buttons, and the instructions will guide you on to what buttons to use to make your selections. It also has the ability to use a privacy mask. If you're going to use the audio ballot and you don't need to see the screen, then you can select the privacy mask and it will blank out the screen so that your selections are kept private from anyone who might be sitting with you, assisting you, or anyone who might walk by would not be able to view your selections. So that's a nice accessible feature about this device. And then finally, it also has the ability to connect a sip and puff. If that's an assistive device that you use, you can connect that to this machine as well. This ballot marking device will not store any of your information. It's not going to store your votes, and it's not connected to the internet. It's not a computer that you're voting on. It is truly just a ballot marking device, because once you make your selections, you'll have the opportunity to review those selections. And then if you're done and you're ready to go, then you print them out. And once your ballot is printed out on that printer that is next to the marking device, then your screen on that ballot marking device is going to clear, and there will not be a ballot or any voter information available there to the next voter. It will completely clear the screen. So please keep that in mind, that it does not store your information. It is not tabulating the votes in any way or storing votes in any way. Once you print your ballot out on the printer, then you will take that ballot over to the ballot box and deposit it there. So that's how you will cast your ballot. We do include a copy of what that looks like on this slide, but basically it's a barcode with the information about the election under it. I'm sorry, not a barcode, a QR code with the election information underneath that. And that is what the ballot will look like when it's printed out from the ballot, when you use the ballot marking device. So, of course, you can always go vote in person and take the ballot that you receive in the mail if you choose to do that. Or if not, like I said, for accessibility, using the ballot marking device is a great option. And here on this slide, we just have another photograph of what the ballot marking device looks like. It is fully compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and it does allow for a voter to mark their ballot independently and privately. A couple of other features that I'd like to mention about the ballot marking device is that you do have, since it's a touch screen, you do have the ability to change the text size to a larger text, bolder text, and you can even change the contrast of the text. So that is something I forgot to mention when I was talking about accessibility earlier. And that's a nice feature of this machine as well. So I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss anything else. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So voter services continued. I did mention that we will have assistance in multiple languages at the vote centers. You can always bring someone to assist you if you choose to do so. You could bring 2 people to the vote center if you would like assistance, or you can ask for assistance at the vote center. Another feature of the vote center is that if you do forget to register to vote, or maybe you move just before the election, you can register and vote on the same day at that vote center. So this is great, and this can happen anytime when that vote center is open up until election day. This is also something that you can do at the Registrar of Voters, of course, but these vote centers, since they will be located throughout the county, hopefully this is more convenient for you, and you can update your voter registration, make any changes there at the vote center. So it is pretty much a full service center. If you make a mistake on your ballot, you could take that in, request a new one. They'll issue you a new one using the ballot marking device. Now, there was something else. Oh, I know, something else I'm forgetting. You also have the ability to do curbside voting if this is something that interests anybody. If you would like to do curbside voting, you can call the Registrar of Voters in advance, let them know, and they'll ask you a couple of questions. Otherwise, when you arrive to the vote center, there is a phone number that you call, let them know that you want to do curbside voting, and they will bring the ballot marking device out to the vehicle that you're in. So that is another option. And I'm sorry, I think somebody was going to say something. I'm probably over my time.
No, that's okay. It was just me. It was Wanda. I'm a little loud. Sorry for the feedback. Let me turn that down. I was curious about, for a person who is not registered,
Yes.
Is there still that 15-day period in advance of the election where you need to be registered? I heard you just say you could make changes on that day and at the voting center.
Yes, that's a good question, Wanda. So we do have a registration deadline, and that actually on the slide now is an important dates slide. And on this slide, we talk about the mailings, the dates they went out, which I covered at the beginning. So the voter information pamphlet going out April 28th, your ballot going out starting May 9th, ballot drop box locations opening May 9th, and early voting beginning May 9th. And then the next line on here is the voter registration deadline of May 23rd. So this is the deadline if you'd like to receive your ballot in the mail, but it is not a deadline in the sense that you can still go in person and register to vote those last 2 weeks, as long as you do it in person, and then you'll vote on that same trip. So it's a deadline that the registration deadline, May 23rd, is a deadline if you want to receive your ballot in the mail.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Appreciate that. Yeah.
You're welcome. And then other dates to keep in mind here, the select vote centers that will be open for 11 days, open May 28th through June 7th, election day. And then all vote centers will be open June 4th through June 7th, election day. And then of course, election day is on June 7th, and we will certify the election on July 7th. So we are asking voters to be vote ready, register to vote. There's still time. You can do this at sdvote.com. If you're not sure if you're registered, maybe you haven't voted in a while, you can also check your registration, and this could be done at sdvote.com. Make sure we have your correct address, your correct mailing address. If you've moved, changed your name, these would be reasons to re-register to vote. And there's a sample slide here just of what our website looks like. But basically, if you want to register or check your registration, you'll go to the I Want To tab, and then there you can register to vote or check your registration. And then one last slide, we are still looking for bilingual poll workers. If anyone sees this who is bilingual and is interested, the languages that we support are Chinese, Filipino, Spanish, Vietnamese, Arabic, Japanese, Korean, and Laotian. So if there's anyone who is interested, you could give us a call at 858-565-5800. This is our main phone number where you can also obtain any information as it pertains to you, the voter. This is where you can call to obtain location information. So again, it's 858-565-5800. Or you can visit sdvote.com as well. And that is all I have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I can't see if anyone has any questions. And I don't know if Paul, if there's anything that I may have missed.
Thank you, Rosie. That was a great presentation. This is Paul speaking. I would just add that just that you can vote privately and independently in this election. There's a number of options for accessibility if you're a person who is blind or low vision, so it shouldn't be a barrier to voting. And I appreciate that Rosie went over all the different options. If you experience a barrier to voting, I want to say Disability Rights California runs a voting hotline. That phone number is in the voter information guide for San Diego, but I'll say it again and I'll put it in the chat. It's 888-569-7955. And we're happy to help you if you have any issues voting. I will say the accessibility is really good in San Diego County. The election workers are well trained. So if you show up to vote in person, they're going to be able to assist you if you need assistance. If you don't want assistance, they won't give you assistance, which is great. That's how it's supposed to be. So things are accessible. Just some things to look out for. If you have questions about how to sign your ballot, that can be a challenge too. And Rosie went over that. The one thing I would add, Rosie, I don't think you talked about ballot tracks. You can sign up for ballot tracks, which will let you know that your vote by mail ballot was received and also will alert you if there was a problem with your signature. So one nice accessibility feature of ballot tracks, which is that you can get a text message, which is more accessible than waiting for the letter in the mail. So I signed up for ballot tracks. You can sign up for it online. It's really cool. You can see when your ballot is received, and it'll confirm with you when the registrar gets it. And it's especially good too if you're a person with a disability whose signature changes over time. That it's just some extra assurance that your ballot was accepted if you vote by mail. One other thing, if you're concerned about the signature, if you vote in person, they don't check your signature there. So after they check you in, so that can take some of the stress out. And then just one other thing I wanted to add on getting accessible materials, Rosie, if you wanted audio versions of the voter information guide, you can should you just call the registrar of voters to request that?
Yeah, and I actually just shared information from the Secretary of State with Wanda and Julius for the audio. But yeah, we can certainly assist as well. But hopefully that information is also shared through Braille Institute and through Center for the Blind as well.
Great.
So yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Wonder about protocols, Paul or Rosie. COVID-19 protocols or precautions at the voting centers for people who do like to have hands-on and they're out there. Are there protocols in place?
Good question, Wanda. Yes, there are protocols in place, and we're basically following the CDC guidelines. There are sanitizing wipes, and there's a cleaning schedule at all our vote centers. At each vote center, they will provide masks if someone would like to wear the mask, the wipes, sanitizer. So all of that is available. But the registrar's office is following the CDC requirements.
Great.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you for mentioning that. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for either Rosie or Paul this afternoon, or even Raymond, who's still online? Anybody have anything? Otherwise, I think it's been a very thorough presentation, Rosie. Lots of good, useful, practical information. And I'm delighted that we have that recorded and we can still share that with others that are seeking that information. So thank you again for taking time to visit with us online this time. Hopefully for the next election, we might see y'all in person at our new center. But it was great having you as well, Paul, and also Raymond. I want to thank you all. And also Candace for dropping in and telling us about the survey. So thank you so much. And we'll see you all next time. Stay safe, stay well.
All right, folks.
And,
thank you.
Let's have thanks for Rosie and Raymond and Paul.
Thank you, Rosie.
What, you guys did a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Fabian.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Fabian.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
I remember
Thank
you guys went 2 years ago, 2020, to the old center.
Yes, we did.
I just remember you. Yes, thank you. Bye, Wanda.
Bye-bye.
See you
Bye,
Friday,
Fabian.
the book
Thanks
club.
for coming. Thanks, everybody, for coming.